And with me now in his first live interview, Michael Leiter, former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, and now having left the government, you're able to talk. You know this inside out. You were involved in the bin Laden hit, of course. This, how big a deal?
This really is a huge deal, Andrea. After killing bin Laden, I think Awlaki was really the #2 target. No one was more important to protecting the United States.
Jim Miklashevsky was talking about how inspirational he was. He had quite a following, among them, of course, what happened in Fort Hood, that and other young Americans and military were following this man online.
It's absolutely true. In terms of inspiration and speaking to English-speaking affiliates of al-Qaeda, there was really no one who had an understanding of their psychology and was able to speak to them and inspire them in the way that Anwar Awlaki has been able to over the past 2 or 3 years.
And unlike bin Laden, who was so well hidden, although hiding in plain sight, as we now know, he was more operational because he was not constrained. He in fact, felt really invulnerable.
I think he did, and that obviously helped lead to his demise. And people need to understand that it wasn't just him being an inspiration. This was a man who was an operational commander for attacks against the United States. As Jim said, the failed attack on Christmas Day, the cargo plot, he was trying to inspire, and simultaneously, he was leading operations against the United States.
Let's talk a bit about the operation. We believe that it was JSOC, that this is this combined unit, military, a lot of intelligence goes into it, and the drones. They don't have to have boots on the ground, but this is very, very specific and sophisticated targeting, obviously.
Well, it is, and I think a lot of the tools that have been used successfully to pressure al-Qaeda in Pakistan over the past several years, this illustrates how that same approach to countering terrorism without boots on the ground can also be successful elsewhere and needs to be applied elsewhere in places like Yemen.
A minute to just talk about Mike Mullen, because we don't want his transition out of the military today to go unremarked. He's leaving with quite a blast at Pakistan, at the very leaders that he, in 27 separate missions, went over to try to cultivate a closer relationship with both the military and intelligence operations there. And now, in the last 10 days, he has basically accused them of using the Haqqani network against our soldiers. What he said yesterday is, I had to speak out because they're killing Americans in Afghanistan. This a veritable arm, he called it, of the Pakistan spy agency. That's tough stuff.
It is, and I think Americans really have to take note of that, because Admiral Mullen is someone who has served this country so bravely and boldly for so long. And he knows Pakistan as well as almost any leader in this government. And his words about the Haqqani network do reflect, I think, the seriousness with which we have to take the Haqqani network, but also the potential relationship back to Pakistani security services. Pakistan has to be an ally in our fight against al-Qaeda and other radicals in this area of the world. And I think what Chairman Mullen said was not always the ally we need them to be.
And what he said today was, in fact, to those who have not been friends enough to us, take today's actions against Awlaki to heart, because you want to have friends to people who have access to drones.
Well, there's no doubt that, again, this action against Awlaki, much like the action against bin Laden, shows the reach and the focus of our counterterrorism efforts. And it really was an important success to securing the United States and our allies.
And if I may say so, just on a personal note, a lot of that work was done by you at the Counterterrorism Center, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much for that, and I thank all the people who are still doing this work out there who had this success today.
And so now let's bring in former Congresswoman Jane Harman, president of the Woodrow Wilson International Center and an intelligence expert from her days in Congress and since. So you have been one of the first persons who has really focused intensively on Yemen in Congress and drawing it to all of our attention. Let's talk about the importance of getting Awlaki today.
Well, I think the things that were just said by Jim Miklashevsky and Mike Leiter are all true. I would add something about Awlaki, which is that he personally harbored 2 of the 9/11 hijackers in San Diego and then moved to Northern Virginia and knew some of the rest of them. So he goes back a long way in terms of heinous crimes against innocent citizens in America. That's point one. The other thing I wanted to add, Andrea, is that Mike Mullen is not only a patriot in terms of his efforts with the war on terror in Afghanistan and Pakistan, but he, more than any other member of the military, was responsible for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He was the guy who stood up and said it's not right for people to hide who they are, and I think we should salute him for that, too, on the day he retires from the military.
Indeed. In fact, that is a point that we have been making. He said that if you believe in and you follow the military code, that code requires you not to lie about anything, including who you are. Let's talk about the CIA's kill or JSOC's kill and capture of terrorists. Who else is on the list now?
Well, I'm not going to reveal who's on the list, but we do the activities we do extremely carefully. I, in my long years in Congress, spent a lot of time reviewing how we do this, and I think there was at least rumor this morning, I'm not sure if you've confirmed it, Andrea, that Samir Khan might have been someone else.
That. We have confirmed that Samir Khan. Let's talk about his importance. Yeah. Exactly.
Let's talk about him. He is the guy who wrote Inspire magazine in colloquial English. And a big target for both Awlaki and Khan was disaffected people in our own country who are surfing the web and read these online materials which teach you how to make a bomb in the kitchen of your mom and offer pre-selected and skewed readings from the Quran and tell you how to encrypt your messages and incite you to violence. I mean, let's understand who these people are. Both of them have, I think, were American Yemenis, but both of them were inciting the killing of the maximum number of Americans on American soil. And as you said from the list before, they literally got people like Hassan to kill soldiers in a recruiting center in Texas. And, you know, our future without these two men looks a little bit safer. It certainly does to me.
And let me just draw our viewers' attention. We just showed on the screen the latest edition of Inspire magazine, notable because it is their victory lap, if you will, for the 10th anniversary of 9/11 with the Twin Towers. And in this magazine, he also, interestingly, to tell you how current it is, he criticizes Ahmadinejad's speech, Iran's president's speech at the UN last week, for denying that al-Qaeda actually succeeded in 9/11, for calling it a conspiracy, an American, Jewish or Israeli conspiracy. So that just tells you just how profoundly twisted this man, Samir Khan, was.
Profoundly
and the fact that he's
twisted.
Evil.
Yeah. And pointed and capable this little cell was in Yemen. Yemen has 150,000 little villages. It's out of resources, both oil and water. Saleh, the leader who fled to Saudi Arabia after being severely burned, has just returned. The government is a failing government, and it is critical to me, and I think we should celebrate this, that the U.S. is able to mount effective counterterrorism operations like this, lashing the CIA with our Special Operations Force in the Pentagon to target very carefully two guys who probably, if you had to pick them out, you know, who are the most dangerous people in the boonies of Yemen targeting the American homeland. These are the two guys, and they were 2 of 4 that were taken down today. I'm not celebrating killing anybody, but I surely think, as President Obama said, this sends a very strong message that there's no safe haven anywhere for terrorists, senior operational terrorists who want to kill as many innocent Americans as possible.
Thank you so much, Jane Harman, for joining us today.